Hi Booktube, my name is Juan, I am just one reader, and today I would like to recommend The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. For me, this was a very refreshing, surprising read, and I really enjoyed it. I want to share it with you. It's a very popular, hot book right now because it just came out, like it literally just came out a few days ago. And I think this will be a very good book for people who are looking for something quick, something interesting, something that will take their minds off, but it's also going to be full of insight and it's going to give you a different perspective of many different kinds of topics. So, the Anthropocene Reviewed is basically an essay collection by John Green. If you enjoy John Green's style, his narrative style, his voice, the way that he writes in his fiction pieces, the way that he talks in his videos and in his vlogs and in his podcast, this is pretty much it. You will like this if you enjoy John Green, because this is really more about, for me at least, an essay collection is more about the particular voice of the author and their perspective. It's not necessarily about the topics themselves, although the topics have to be interesting enough to really hook me and grab me. But in this regard, I will say that I think The Anthropocene Reviewed really benefits from John Green's particular authorial voice and overall style. I really enjoyed how his writing was very witty, very insightful. I did sometimes feel that some of the essays became a little bit corny and sentimental for my own personal taste, but that's a personal taste issue. But what I can say is that I really enjoyed reading this collection. So like I said, I think this will be a great recommendation for people who are looking for something that will be relaxing, refreshing, funny. There are some pieces in here that are just so funny. I mean, so witty and so funny and so ridiculous. And, he really is not afraid of taking really important issues and mental health issues and ecological issues and politics and many other big topics and being really funny about them and mocking of himself. And it's not that he takes things lightly in a sort of disrespectful way at all. It's more that he's really playful, and that is something that I think we need more of. I think we need more lightness and more humanity and more warmth when addressing these big, heavy issues. So what is the Anthropocene Reviewed about? Well, the Anthropocene, this big word here, Anthropocene, actually refers to the age that we are living in and have been living for many years and centuries, and it's basically the age of history and of the earth that is centered around humanity, the human species. That's why it has the prefix Anthropocene. It's Anthropocene has to do with, mankind or humanity. And so he just tackles different issues. Some are very random to the point where I just didn't really understand why I was reading about certain topics. But he really tries to, and he does manage actually successfully. He manages to connect everything, and he also talks about our current COVID crisis and isolation and everything that's been explored recently this past year and a half of pandemic. And I think it's a very successful essay collection, and he tackles a wide variety, a great range of topics from I'm gonna give you just a hint of a little sample of the topics here. The first essay is about the song "You Will Never Walk Alone" from Carousel. walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. So he talks about that song, and in doing so, he talks about the pandemic and many other issues. Then the final topic, or the final essay, just to give you a quick example of how diverse it is about a picture, a portrait, or some kind of painting, which is, this painting of three farmers, and he sort of goes into an analysis of what that means and what he thinks about it. Something that I love about this collection is that it is a great example of what we call in psychoanalysis free association. He just lets his mind wander and go places, and it's very interesting to follow his mind go around and just go randomly from one place to another. And in doing so, I think there is something very therapeutic about writing this book for him, and also for the reader, of course. There's something very therapeutic about listening to someone else's subjectivity and someone else's insight, I think. So I really liked it. Of course, I have to say that, as with any sort of collection, there's a risk. You are bound to enjoy some pieces more than others. For example, in my case, I completely despise sports, and I just cannot connect to sports, and I cannot read about sports. So there were, I think, 2 or 3 essays in here that deal quite heavily with some sport of some kind, and I disconnected from those pieces, even though it's not really only about the sport, it's about something else. But it just, I have a very, very strong sort of feeling about sport, and I cannot read anything that has to do with sports. I can try, but I always fail. So anyway, that's the Anthropocene reviewed. It's also very ironic and very funny, because what he does is, at the end of each essay, he will rate, and he will actually give a star rating to the thing that he's addressing in each essay. So he rates everything, and it's hilarious, because how can you rate things? How can you rate humanity's temporal range? How can you rate Indianapolis? How can you rate Old Lang Syne? How can you rate the movie Harvey? How can you rate CNN? And so it becomes a very playful kind of critique of how our current online society is completely obsessed with reviewing everything under the sun. And it's actually quite interesting to me that we cannot review anything. What we review is our experience of something, but we cannot really review anything. And that's very evident to me, because now I am rating this book 4 stars, and I am not giving it 3 stars, I'm not giving it 5 stars, I am giving it 4 stars. It has nothing to do with the book itself. The book is just something that exists. But what I can rate is my experience of said object. And in this case, even though I found it really eye-opening and filled with interesting fun facts of technology and science and history and biology and many other different things, I feel like there was a little bit too much about sports, and sometimes I did feel it became a little bit corny for my liking, but other than that, it was a great, refreshing read, and I think you will enjoy it. So I give The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green 4 stars, and I thoroughly recommend it.